Good morning, Instagram and Facebook. I wanted to hop on and do this video before I went to the gym because I felt like I was going to lose some of my ideas that have come to me this morning. My name is Kristen Johnson. This is my 365 days of discovering me. I started doing these videos because I found myself getting distracted by unhealthy relationships, addictions, and anything else that kept me off track and in alignment. So day 196, triggers. We all get triggered. And sometimes those triggers are a little bit more uncomfortable than other times. And I wanted to talk about that today and how I have processed it. This came up because what our triggers do is they say, so a trigger, I'm sure you all know what a trigger is an emotional response to an event that's maybe reminding us of a past event. So, for example, I do not like shopping. I do not like shopping, and it actually causes me anxiety to go shopping for clothes. I have to be in the right mood and maybe with a friend or two if I'm going to go shopping. And it's not the act of shopping that actually makes me anxious. So if I get that trigger and it's annoying to me and I want to resolve it, I need to go back and think, what was the first time I felt anxiety in shopping? Because that's really not a normal response. So if I look back, it's like, oh, well, there was a time when I had picked out a whole bunch of clothes and I was told that they were all ugly and that I should put them all back and that they were too expensive. So when I realized that that is the event that started my insecurity in shopping, which then created anxiety, an anxiety response, then I can work on it. I also did a video a while ago about reasons to break up and how I'm not a jealous person. And that got me thinking, I'm like, is that authentic? Have I never been a jealous person? And that wasn't true. So I had to think back on jealousy and I had to go back to the event of when that jealousy first began. And the key here is with jealousy, the story that I had created over the years around that event that was the first memory and recollection of jealousy, that's not where I'm going to solve this challenge and trigger that I have. The place that I am going to be able to resolve this trigger is the feelings around that event. We cannot solve our trigger within the story we've created around the event. We solve it within the emotions that the event conjures up. So jealousy. Jealousy for me, when it first began, it was when I was just dating my first husband. There was a woman that he was friends with from college, and she had come over and they were drinking wine when I came home from wherever I was. So that's the event. I can create a story around that, like I wasn't good enough, or she was better looking, or he was just a dick, whatever, a jerk, whatever it is. But that's not where I'm going to resolve it. What happens is I came home, recognized something. I was like, what is this? And then the way he proceeded to treat me made me feel inadequate. It made me feel less than. It made me feel not enough. So if I want to resolve this trigger of jealousy, which its source goes way back, 24 years, then what I do is I sit there, and to do this, I've had to take time. I set time aside because what it's a trigger is recognizing to me is that I'm having an emotional response to an event that I have not digested, we have to digest and process events just like we have to food. Our energy body has to do the same thing. So if we've blocked it because it's uncomfortable or we didn't know how to process it, we then become blocked. And the trigger is going to keep coming up, not to torment us, but to say, hey, you still have got to digest this. You've got to work on this. So that's the purpose of the trigger, not to torment us, but to say, hey, you need to digest this. So for me with jealousy, what I did is I sit with that recollection of when it first happened, not the story around it, but the feelings that conjured up. And I sit there and just allow those yucky, uncomfortable feelings just to arise and bubble up. And me personally, there's many ways you can do this, but for me, as I am doing that, I am breathing. I am imagining the source of light coming in from above my head. It's a white light coming in through my body, welling up in my belly as I'm breathing, and I hold it within my lower belly. And then after a few seconds, I let it release out through my legs and into the ground. And then I breathe up through the ground, hold it in the lower part of my belly for a few seconds, and then breathe it out through my head. So as I'm thinking and marinating on the feelings associated around this event that I first recognize as jealousy, and I'm breathing, it's kind of a meditative thing, and I'm breathing, what begins to happen is, and this is the other important part too, like where am I feeling, as I'm doing this, where am I feeling it in my body? For me, it's like in the chest, right here and in the chest area. So as I'm breathing, I'm really trying to clear that out. And after a time, like it does start to release and feel better. And so then I can conclude my breathing session and processing that emotion. What that's actually doing, it's clearing the energy within me. It's resolving at an energetic level those emotional responses. So instead of my body saying, hey, we haven't processed this anymore, it's saying, hey, look, here's the channel now that we can flow through. It's moving again. So and it doesn't take just once. Like in the future, if it keeps arising, you have to take some time and say, okay, I worked on it, but I got to do a little bit more work. And you just sit with that uncomfortable feeling. You don't dwell on the story, don't dwell on the feeling, but just allow it to be as you're breathing. This has been really helpful for me, as well as tapping. Brad Yates, he's on YouTube. If you can identify what it is that you're feeling, like jealousy or not being good enough or acceptance or allowance or whatever it is, if you can identify what the emotional signature is, then you can tap on it. So you can search Brad Yates, Yates, on YouTube. And so like I'll search Brad Yates jealousy and it'll come up with a bunch of videos, and you just follow along with him and tap on it. And he has an introductory video on what tapping is. You're basically clearing the energy meridians in your body where this energy stays stuck. So that's helping you digest these emotional events that we haven't processed. All right, so that's what I do when I get triggers, because I do not like being stuck. Triggers are a trigger that we still need to process and metabolize some of these emotional events. All right, this is a big one today. I love you. I hope you have a fabulous day. Move your body. Be creative. Share part of who you are with the world. Love you.